Another week, another episode of Competitive Edge here on the Esportsbet.io YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe and you'll get more content like this and Face Check and Competitive Edge for CSGO now that the player break has ended. Semler and Thorin doing that one. So it was a bit rough this past week for us, Thorin, thanks to a variety of upsets because we mostly were just picking favorite.
It's always LCS.
Hey, it's LEC
LCS
too.
just ruins
Bad
you.
Lions lost.
Oh, it's true.
We can take a look at this real quick. We were down about 900 this week, including the bets we had made from a previous week because that's when the LEC we made the bets in advance. And LEC took a week off. So here we go. Gonna take a look real quick. Yes, LCS, best of ones, garbage league. Let's go. So let's start at the beginning. So this week, of course, Thorin, would FlyQuest win over NRG in a must-win match for FlyQuest to be able to make playoffs in a feasible manner? Technically, they can still make playoffs if they go 3-0 this week and either 100 Thieves or Dignitas go 0-3, depending on who loses the Dignitas versus 100 Thieves match. Yes. But it's very, very unlikely that they will be making it now.
I mean, they even have tiebreakers against them at this point in time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, both 100 Thieves and Dignitas are 2-0 against FlyQuest, so it's really, really hard for them to get in. So no, they would not perform. And in fact, they would sub out the mid laner, put Spyrax in instead of Vikla, who definitely has been underperforming, so that's a reasonable swap. But no, they would not get that win. Of course, they would beat EG later in the week, a much tougher opponent because
with Vikla.
with Vikla,
yeah,
classically.
He stomped him. By the way, two things there. One, just perfect, absolute face palm from the EG Twitter account. Because you know when they did that when they memed on the FlyQuest one, but they put within it, Monty, that we will continue beating them for the rest of this game. And then literally Vikla came back, shit stomped them, and they were just done immediately.
And also, EG got 0-3 this week.
So. Yeah. And then secondly, this is where the old meme comes in, doesn't it? Like, I actually want FlyQuest, these 5 players, to attend my funeral so they can let me down one last time. Breaking all like the coffin bearer or whatever. Like, this is outrageous, as you say. If there's one game you have to win, right? NRG has been quite fucking bad most of this split. They just had the odd crazy win. And then, as you say, this is basically your season. This is everything. This is Worlds, everything on the line. And you blow this one, like, you actually just deserve to go at this point in time.
Exactly.
Send them out.
Yep.
Send them out.
All sympathy gone for FlyQuest. We will not be placing wagers on them again. Okay, next up, we had Cloud9, who, of course, lost to Team Liquid because they have been now extremely inconsistent, especially their solo lanes have been having a lot of trouble. Blabber and Berserker have been doing the lion's share of the carrying on this team. And then we have Mad Lions. Again, a favorite we picked versus Excel. Excel overperformed. Mad Lions, well, Humanoid puts in a stinker of a performance.
That was outrageous, yeah.
Mad Lions looks super unmotivated. Also potentially kind of a bad read on the meta. So Excel ends up going through. Although credit to Excel, they look good. Our match of the week, however, Thorin, we got right. So it was BDS over Heretics. Turned out after the Kaisa ban came through and VTO didn't get his hands on that champion again, was a pretty solid win overall for BDS. We got good odds over 2.0 for that.
That's one of my favorite bets because essentially the underdog was priced at 2 odds, but I actually consider them a slight favorite. Like, yes. I love it when I can take those all day long.
Well, also, speaking of that, we did very well with our LCK bet, which was Breon at over 3 odds versus Kwangdong Freaks. And I thought Breon was a relatively comfortable favorite in that matchup. So that was an easy win. We did
Before that, they'd only won 4 whole games in the split or something mad like that, right?
Right. But you have to remember that they had just been coming off a week with back-to-back games against KT. So their record looked a lot worse because they had been playing good teams recently. And even in some of those games, like, you know, if we also looked at their Hanwha series this past week, they did take a game off Hanwha. So Breon's a better team than you think they are, which is why they are somewhat worth taking flyers on. We took a flyer on Nongshim just because T1 looked crap. T1 did rebound this week and look a little bit better. And then, of course, we put 500 down on Dignitas versus Immortals. Why do we bet on LCS, Thorin?
That one was inexplicable. Like, if people don't understand, Immortals has been far and away the worst team. Like, there was never any reason why they should ever win a game, basically.
Really only, I mean, if Tactical is your best player, you know you're having some fucking problems. but apparently it's just impossible to win. And of course, Rich, who has now exited the MVP conversation, he had to go and pick Ilawi and go 0-8 or whatever he went on this champion, kind of self-counterpicking into a Cassante. Very weird draft and very weird game from Dignitas, who, I mean, if Rich doesn't play well, this team doesn't do well. So when he is trash and getting owned in lane and getting solo killed, it's just not going to work. So that was unfortunate, but best of one drafts always lead to a certain amount of instability. So hopefully we will get a little bit of a bounce back this week, because that was a rough one. That was a rough one. It's all right. A couple weeks ago, we had a very good week, so we're making up for it slowly.
Here's the thing. If people know it, I'll just tease it. When Monty says the bet of the week, I'm telling you right now, this is one of the most delicious bets, like I said before, where the real favourite might be mega underpriced. I think this is perfect.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting stuff this week. We're going to go beyond just the bets you see below on your screen. As a reminder, we do have on Last Free Nation our match of the week. That is GenG versus KT this week, because it's a battle potentially for first place in the LCK. It's a super banger match that's going to be happening. And what that means is you get an additional 10% profit if you place a wager using our referral code below, and you can get up to 100 USDT additional money, or it's equivalent to another cryptocurrency on your first bet. Remember, you can't do this over and over and over again. So it's a great time if you want to put a wager on that specific match. And it also has insane synergy with our other bonuses, which are either a 50% deposit bonus up to $100 or a $100 risk-free first bet. So, maybe you take those odds on KT, the $100 risk-free first bet, and you get additional $10 back if you in winnings, if you get it right. So it's a good time if you want to sign up, have some fun over on Esportsbet. We'll start off with some LCS games, though, that occur earlier in the week. First up is Golden Guardians versus Team Liquid. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but Golden Guardians might be the most consistent team within the LCS so far. They are coming off a loss to NRG, but with some shaky performances, I would say, from Cloud9 over the last couple of weeks. Perhaps Golden Guardians might actually be the favorite. What are your thoughts on this team?
I mean, as you say, Cloud9's definitely not doing themselves any favors. But actually, if you look at the Golden Guardian squad, it's funny that last split, they just came on strong at the very end and then made that run to the finals and then had the MSI. Because they actually now, you even look, now that we've sort of like normalized who the players of the LCS are, we're not looking at rosters like Flacco's. It's insane. Like, you see the players now, you're like, actually, not that good. Golden Guardians actually just overall, they have one of the better rosters in the league at this point in time. As you say, the way they play the game is very consistent. Their best players are pretty consistent. Like, it's actually just a good squad at this point in time. Like, worst case scenario, it's top 3. I think even in the playoffs, it's just a lock for that for me.
Yeah, and I think this one's hard to call because Team Liquid has had a resurgence with APA ever since putting him in, they're 4-1? Yeah, they're 4-1. With him. They did lose a game to TSM, but they also beat Cloud9 in a match that we predicted incorrectly last week. I thought Cloud9 would have enough chance to prepare. But I think what's interesting about Team Liquid is they're playing into APA strengths, and they're doing a lot of cool stuff with zigs and fast push compositions that have been increasingly popular around the world with some like kind of niche teams. It's an emerging meta strategy, I would say. And they look at least a lot more decisive. That's what I would say about APA is he seems to have significantly better synergy. And also, how can I put this? A desire to carry. Like, he goes all in. Like, he doesn't second guess calls with the team. He seems to just play better and want to hard carry these games more than Harry did, who was a player who never really impressed me at all.
Yes.
So,
no, I mean, put it this way, I saw the other day a tweet, I was like, what the? And the hairy guy was carrying in like NACL. It's like, bro, you can just play the rest of your career there. It's okay. It's all good. We found your level. We found where you're good at. Just be a big fish in a small pond. Go to work.
It's like the diamond of mid laners, right? Diamond, too good for amateur, not good enough for professional play, gets subbed out on Dignitas. Yeah, I think this is a hard one to call because I do think Golden Guardians are the favorite. And you can get some pretty good odds on Golden Guardians. So I think I'm going to take them just because I believe in their core fundamentals. And also, if you look at a lot of the strengths on Golden Guardians, I think that they match up quite well into what we've seen from Team Liquid. Like, Licorice has had a very good split. He's not going to get run over by Summit. And again, it's about River and Gory on Golden Guardians, and they're still going to be attacking a mid jungle duo with significantly less time to build that synergy. So I'm leading towards Golden Guardians. What are your thoughts?
I mean, also to me, like, I'm surprised more people don't do this. In my opinion, you could also just cynically like ban Wukong and Pioshik's half as good. That one champions his main one, like that's the one he's going to get the win. So that's one where, like, look, I know TL's riding the heater, and they definitely have. Like the APA guy's impressed, yeah, absolutely. He has entered the league somewhat akin to how MNS did in Cloud9 last split. But to me, Golden Guardians is the better team, and to get those odds for the better team, I don't mind taking that.
Oops, I mean to add a parlay there, guys. I am going to take him at 250. So pretty good favorite. That one's a hard call. But I like the odds being, over 1.6 for Golden Guardians. Feels pretty good. We're going to move to EG versus Team Liquid. So again, another Team Liquid matchup. This time Team Liquid at a slight underdog position at 1.843, but effectively even odds on this matchup. Now, are we buying in? Because there's been a lot of people saying that, EG, including pro players, saying EG is fraudulent. EG is currently on a 4-loss streak, and those losses are NRG, Golden Guardians, FlyQuest, and C9. So, granted, outside of NRG, teams that are supposed to be good, FlyQuest, supposed to be, keyword with FlyQuest, obviously. Sure. And they start this week against Immortals before playing Team Liquid on the second day. But I think part of the problem with EG's fraudulency is that they have been kind of exposed. Like JoJo has been a crazy hard carry when he gets ahead in some of these games, but when he's not ahead, they just lose super fast and they look pretty terrible overall.
I mean, this is just a team where, like, they had the early split heater. They seemed like they got their draft down. Some of the players were performing, like Jojo was an MVP candidate, probably Unforgiven, showed why he should have always been in LEC/LCS. But the thing is, to me, people always forget where the teams begin at the beginning of the split. Like, this was a team that never was in anyone's expectations to be top 3, top 4.
Yeah.
This was a team where you'd say, right, make the playoffs, and you did a good job. So to me, look, I understand they're probably not as bad as the 4-game slide. Like you say, some of those are top teams. Even the FlyQuest win, that was like one that gave people hope. But I look at them as a team. I actually think right now I'm taking TL on this one. Like, why wouldn't I?
Yeah. I think just based on current momentum, again, you could have a game where we see JoJo pop off. But I would think that the JoJo pop-off game would be far more likely with Harry in the lineup than APA, because in spite of the potential, I mean, I think the synergy issue on the long term with Pioshik is still a concern, but a lot of it has just been JoJo's solo plays. And if APA can play just something very safe, a ranged mage like Ziggs into this team, that there's an opportunity here for Team Liquid to really kind of punish what EG does. And Core JJ's been having some good games recently, and the bot lane, especially the Ayla diff, is probably pretty glaring in my opinion. So.
And like you say, I mean, the APA guy is going to go for it, mate. He's going to actually mix it up with JoJo, so there's a real chance you can potentially put him behind.
Yep. All right. 300. We're putting 300 on Team Liquid. A little bit more confident in this one. It is a true 50-50 in terms of odds, but I do think, just given recent form and trajectory, that Team Liquid should be a favorite here. Okay, let's move over to the LCK. We've got T1 versus Hanwha Life. We do not know if Faker is going to be back this week as of this conversation.
And even if he is he injured still? No one knows, right?
Is he injured still? Hanwha's in an interesting place because they have added their new jungler, Grizzly, who looks pretty good. He's not the flashiest in terms of early game aggression, but what he does is he's been cross-map jungling and taking objectives early, which then kind of lengthens the game, or it makes it so Hanwha doesn't have to all in at kind of dragons, and they can be a bit more choosy about the fights that they take in the mid and late game. And one of Hanwha's strengths has been the late game. Unlocking Viper in some of these team fights has been a way for them to kind of get ahead and win. Also, if Poby is still playing, Poby has shown some really uncharacteristic, well, not for him, but for T1, uncharacteristic mistakes. He kind of threw the first game versus D+ this last week. So if he's still in, I think Han was a favorite. I don't know if they will put Faker back in this week. I think they're probably going to be pretty cautious with him. But even if he does go back in, Hanwha has been a team on the rise. They've looked better with Grizzly than with Clid, and every week that they play, they're going to get more and more synergy with this player.
The problem is, this is where people have got to stop doing this. When they inserted the Grizzly guy, obviously on his first game ever in LCK, starting in like the middle of the summer split Monty, he didn't look great in his first game because he was just thrown in the deep end. So you give him time. He's acclimatized now. Like you said, actually, the team is better. Like I can see when they did it, Clid was inting so hard those last few weeks. Like it was actually egregious. So it seems like actually this has stabilized the ship. And as you said, you can never know if T1's even going to have Faker. Even if they have him, is he like proper 100% Faker? So I actually think right now, these odds are great for HLE. I think we take this gamble all day long.
Yeah. Let's do it. 250 on HLE. Again, these odds are probably a little bit, I mean, realistically, given form, T1 should not be the favorite. And given the fact that we don't even know if Faker is playing right now, is again, the T1 fans are really skewing the line on this. It is a little bit crazy because if you guys want to take this, if you guys really, really don't believe in it, Breon plays T1 later the week, and Breon has 2.8 odds. And Breon could win. Breon was in a winnable position versus Hanwha Life in their series. Like, there was a possibility that they took that one as an underdog. And if Poby continues to play, it's not outrageous that Breon could win that. I'm not quite
Just
that
do
bold.
a small stake one if you do for that one. Do like a do like a third of your stake size. I would say.
Yeah. But that is a possibility. Again, you always want to keep an eye on these T1 odds. Now our match of the week: GenG versus KT. Thorin, somehow, some way, in a match that should be 50-50. Let's be real. It's not. This isn't the same as our match of the week that was T1 versus KT, where I really felt that KT was a pretty significant favorite, and we got them at like 2.8 odds. I've actually seen the odds on the site have been swinging on this one. I've seen KT above 3 at times. As of right now, it is the 2.775 for KT. But regardless, for a match that is 50-50, yes, GenG is completely undefeated in this league, but they actually haven't played KT since week 1 of the LCK. So it's been like a couple months since these teams have played. The patch is wildly different. This is before KT went on their 18 map win streak, where they lost 2 games, not matches, but individual games this past week. And KT did look a little shakier. And to GenG's credit, Doran has looked a lot better in the laning phase recently, but they've been playing against weaker opponents. And he certainly hasn't been playing against Keen. This one is probably very, very close to 50-50. This one's hard to call. GenG does look good in their current form. The teams had a common opponent in DRX this last week. GenG's win versus DRX was much more convincing than KT's win. KT made kind of a variety of sloppy mistakes in that game. Peanut probably is an MVP candidate at this point in time for GenG. He's been quietly putting together a really solid season. But KT has been looking really, really oppressive and dominant in this meta. So it's going to be an absolute banger, guys. This is probably the best match we're going to get in LCK until playoffs, given the fact that there's been turmoil in a lot of the other playoff contending teams or roster swaps. But 2.775, you have to put it on KT here.
This is one where if it was actually a true 50-50 odds, I would say it's a pick 'em. Just if you prefer the GenG style, take them. If you think KT, for one, even if you like GenG, I think this is a trap for those odds. You don't bet on those odds.
No.
It's just not good enough. And then 2, KT odds, like you don't even really have to go into why they're better. Like here's 3 reasons. 1, when they played that first series, the one that KT lost was the one where Aiming built the forbidden item and it just ruined the whole series. So that wasn't even like, if you go look just on like Gamepedia, but GenG beat them. Like that one has like a bit of an
I guess that was the
asterisk
second week of competition. I guess I was mistaken before, but yeah.
Whatever. It's still at the beginning of the split. And then after that, you have the whole factor that, I mean, we personally think KT is the better team. And then 3rd, you get them at 2.775 odds. Like essentially for this one, by the way, I would even say, if you believe like us, it's better, just do a full size bet. I wouldn't even do a smaller one. You're not going to get better odds than this.
We're all in.
This is unbelievable for a team that might be the better team.
All right, we'll go high. We'll go 500 on this one. Potentially big returns for KT. Again, I do not think that this one is as airtight as the T1 versus KT1. GenG certainly can win this series. So probably putting 500 is a little cocky.
No, because the odds are insane. Throw on a team that could be the favorite.
I'll also do something even crazier.
If you want us on the side, do some gambles with me where I get 50-50 odds and I'll just take 2.7 as mine on matches that are 50. I'll do those with you all day long, Monty, till the end of the time, mate. That's how maths works. Spoiler, we have never lost a bet of the week.
We actually haven't. The match of the week, we've never lost. I'm actually going to do a parlay on KT because they have 1.5 odds against DK and with GenG. So I'm going to parlay that we're going to see KT win both of these matches, which puts us at 4.2. I'll put 100 on that. That's just a for fun one. For fun parlay that KT wins both matches. But the odds are just too good on a match that's pretty much a 50-50. All right, finally, we have another one that is a little bit suspect here in terms of how the odds and how the Fnatic fans might be skewing this one. Both Mad Lions and Fnatic lost in rather embarrassing ways in LEC. And yet, the odds are Fnatic 1.390 to 2.698 for Mad Lions. Clearly, you have to go with Mad Lions here. Yes, Fnatic had a better regular split, but Mad Lions, we know, can turn up in playoffs, and Fnatic just fell right on their face in their match this past week. Fnatic also, I think, without a big performance by Humanoid, Noah has not been able to carry this team. I also question the meta read that Fnatic has had because they're still doing things like picking Zeri. Perhaps they're a little bit more meta reliant on the previous patch, or perhaps we will actually see them adapt, but there's not really a way to know. And I will say, at least with Mad Lions, like Niski had some okay games this past week, and one of Mad Lions' biggest faults was Niski underperforming during the regular season. I just have a lot more faith that Mad Lions is going to be able to put it together with the coaching staff that they have. What do you think?
To me, this is another pick me. It's like, I think both teams could win. I would have it as closer to a 50-50. People are going for Fnatic because they've just had the one series that failed and they were a good team in the regular split. As you say, this is not the patch or the meta of the regular split. And then Mad Lions, they're on a 7-game losing streak or whatever. So it looks easy if you're a person just going by raw stats. Like, well, Mad Lions has to lose. But to me, to get almost 2.7 for Mad Lions is mental. Like, I do think this is a coin flip series. And here's the other thing. Difference is Mad Lions has the same roster. They have like players that are veterans that have been champions now, been the last two finals. Fnatic, the Noah guy, he's still a rookie. He's really good, but he's a rookie. They didn't play around him. The Oscarin guys on his second split at this point in time? Like, and the Humanoid in the mid lane was an absolute disgrace in that series.
Yeah, I mean, Oscarin looked rough into irrelevant as well. Like, I mean, he kind of got bodied.
And also in the Mad Lions series that they lost, that was probably the worst series I've ever seen El Yoya play. And I consider him like the linchpin player. I think he has a bounce back. And I think this is actually, look, again, I think it's a 50-50, but these odds are just insane for Mad. You've got to take Mad on this one.
A lot of underdogs this week, Thorin, a lot of underdogs. We put all those bets on the favorites last week, had a bad week. Maybe the underdogs will see us through. 250 onto Mad Lions for those reasons. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week for us guys with Competitive Edge. We might do some LPL playoff bets later down the line once we get a little bit deeper into the LPL run. Otherwise, we'll be sticking with LEC, LCS, and LCK for this next week. Be sure to check out our shows on the Last Free Nation channel and be sure to subscribe here on Esportsbet. See you next week.